Welcome to Mad About Money. I'm Maddie Alexander-Grout, and this is the podcast where we talk to interesting people all about their interesting money stories. I am joined by the lovely Natalie Potts, who is a strategist a messaging strategist. See, I knew I was going to get that wrong. She helps entrepreneurs with their messaging for their business, which is so important from a visibility perspective. And I absolutely love that. So, Natalie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's a pleasure to come on. So a bit about myself. So very strong corporate background. I was in the corporate world for about 19 years before deciding that, right, I need to kind of really do what I love and find success on my terms. And all of that was predominantly built off of, I'd already started several years before doing my qualifications to be a coach, that then rapidly moved into mentoring coaches and helping people with that. And then I was with the corporate world thinking, I love strategy. Like, this is my thing. I love the coaching, but I take the skills and I guess all of the things around it, like listening, communication, and I bring that to being a strategist. But fundamentally, I love implementation, execution, and making it happen. So all of that came together. And then it was like, well, what's my still one thing within that? It's really important that we niche to our markets.
Yeah.
And I had the ability and the gift to do messaging really well in terms of see things very differently for people, get them to think very differently about their business, and bring everything together. That we talk about things around, like, of course, ideal client, of course, problem solution, being great at sales in your business, marketing, those fundamentals. But the core around that really being about like authority and how you show up with a CEO leadership mindset as well. It's so important. And I don't think a lot of business owners, especially on the online world, see themselves as leaders in their business, which they are because they're leading people to take action and do something.
Absolutely.
So all of that experience brought it together. And of course, like anything, it takes time. And then I was like, I still need my one thing. But the messaging and elevating your messaging to grow your profits, like you said, is so intrinsic with visibility, which is, again, so important in business to really help us differentiate ourselves against the markets.
Absolutely. And messaging is so key. If you're talking to the wrong people, you're selling to the wrong people, you're never going to grow that community around your business. So, love it. I am so on board with what you do. And it's great to have you here. So, Natalie, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody on this podcast. What is your money story?
So my money story is really looped in with the corporate side of things. I recognise through doing my own money mindset work, because I think, again, as a business owner, you've got to always be doing it. It's never just done. I've created courses on it as well, but because that's helped me as well, like teaching you learn. But the one thing I've really discovered is that my money story is centered around the ages of probably school and then going into the corporate world, where it wasn't a negative of my parents, but it was very much like, work hard, get a good job, get good money, progress, do that thing. And again, the expectations of what society puts on us, the expectations we put on ourselves as well. So my money story is very much about, like, you have to work hard for your money.
Yeah.
And therefore, what I noticed coming into my own business, which was, again, that's where I was really realizing I had to sort out my mindset around it, was that I was like, you've got to work hard. I've got to work the same long hours, 12, 16-hour days. Otherwise, I'm not working hard enough to get the results. So that, when you're running a business, just isn't default. You can't go to that, and the time for money trap is huge for people. So I had to do a lot of work through that. And I worked very specifically with someone on that last year, like a mindset coach, but my business mentor as well, in terms of, how is this hindering me from really growing my business? Because I don't see success unless I'm working all the hours under the sun and I'm getting X in terms of financials coming through. So my money story is very much about, you have to work hard for your money, which is a false belief. It's a limiting belief that I've really had to work through, because it's not true. So that's my money story, I think.
Amazing. So what work have you had to do then to kind of change your mindset around money?
The biggest thing I would always say is a key to success is surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and people that really, you're in that big pond, you feel a small fish and you feel uncomfortable, like, and you lean into that. And it's those people that have been there and done that as well, and can help you and guide you. And I think that was the key for me last year, when it really hit home, as I actually, like, this is really holding me back now. I was working very hard, long hours, and I don't mind that. I'm not afraid of that. And I think lots of business owners, like, we need that as well in business. We can't shy away from hard work as well. I always say, like, we make it very complicated and it's simpler than we make it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's easy. It is hard. So the work I've had to do is really understand, again, other people's journeys and experiences and what that means to them and how they run and operate their businesses, so they're not trapped into that default mindset of you have to work hard for your money. And then it was really about, okay, well, if that's the ideas and what I need to grow, then how do I make that relatable to me, and what kind of things am I saying to myself every day that are holding me back from making the right decisions in my business. And certain things, like I had an idea that financial freedom, or an attachment to the word freedom. I was like, well, what is it, freedom? What is it? And I remember speaking last year at a keynote event, and a lot of the research I did for that event was about, again, leaving the corporate world and the risk of not taking a risk. And some of the work behind that was looking at the idea of what's freedom, what's financial freedom. And that's where that came out to me. It's like, I want financial freedom, but it was like, well, what does that mean to me and how do I get it? And I was noticing that everything I was doing in my business is kind of that attitude of, when I get there, the next thing, or nothing's ever enough. And that's dangerous in business when you have that default way of thinking and therefore being, because your behavior will map out and mirror what your thoughts are. So, oh, it's just frozen.
Yeah. It would, yeah. If it freezes, just ignore it. It comes back. So if I look like I'm not listening to you, it's because you've frozen, and I'm like, it's a weird system. I don't know what it, but when it records live, it takes it away. No idea why.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your corporate career, because you were in quite a high-powered, big job. So how did that affect your money, going from having that guaranteed salary every month to moving into entrepreneurship?
That's the biggest thing, because I always say, like, in running a business, I was like home alone in terms of I didn't have anyone like I have now, Tom, to help do the bills and everything. But I was very conscious of that. And I guess I was looking at other people and thinking, yeah, but you've got someone else that can pick up that burden. You've got that pressure taken away. Like, I don't have that. I'm financially independent. I had the mortgage to pay. And that pressure for me is gonna, like, 10 times, if I get stressed or I feel that the money's not coming in, that kind of pressure for me is too much. And I think it's important that we know our thresholds on things like fears, whether we have a fear of judgment, a fear of success, a fear of failure. My dominant fear is fear of success, in that I'll get my business to a very successful place and I'll be as unhappy as where I was in corporate world, where, again, deemed successful, but just didn't feel it. So it was understanding, again, what is that, those fears for me? What does that look like? And the reality was, it's like, well, I need financial stability. What's financial stability look like to me? Like, month on month. And it was exactly that. It was that I need to have this level of income coming in, so that, like, all the basics are always paid. And then what else do I want? Because you have to be careful, because then you also, like anything, you get money blocks when it hits that. And then in terms of, okay, paid the bills. And then it's like, well, the next thing, it's like, oh, we just have a bit of money for that. But that's a money block there. And therefore, even things like, then I was getting to meet my financial salary. I think I did it in the first 5 to 7 months. And it was like with bonus as well. And it's like, okay, then the bonus part's another block, like if I was getting that. So it's really challenging. And that's where I say, like, we need to be working on it all the time to understand our fears, understand how we respond to things, and then look at, like, what can I do to alleviate that and take that pressure off. And who can help me? What does that look like? What are the basics I've got to have? Like, what does that fundamental strategy look like to bring that in as things as well, and consistently? So one of the things I was very focused on when it came to wanting support and help was, I need recurring revenue coming into my business, because I knew that would elevate some of the pressures I would put on myself, not even just external pressures, the internal pressures that we can put on ourselves of, I have to have X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, that strategy is going to take over my life and I won't be able to operate. So we need to do that work on thinking about, like, what are the basics almost that we have as our fears and emotions, why they're there as well. Are they true? Are they not true? Because half the time we encapsulated by limiting beliefs that just aren't true. So we need to really challenge those and work through those. And that's where, again, going back to this, surrounding yourself with the right people is key, because you can understand, to get you there quicker, is this has worked for me, this hasn't, and find your own route and strategy to work out what's best for you.
That's amazing. So with your recurring revenue, like, what steps did you take and what did you decide to sell?
The biggest thing was moving from one-to-one, which was the kind of trap for money that people talk
Yeah.
about, into the group program. So it was, again, I knew that what the challenges would entail there is that you've got to have an audience to sell to, fundamentally, and an audience that know, like, and trust you. So I knew I had to be really building that. And you have to build a relationship. I think this is part where I say of messaging as well, that lots of people said, like, everything you do in your business is building trust with people, and people buy when they trust. So how do you do more of that? So I was looking at, well, as a model piece, I need to go from one-to-one to group, and then I need to build in that bigger audience. But what lots of people want to do is just jump straight in for the big thing of either being fully booked or loads of people and group programs full. And it's like, but people don't know you. They don't know, like, and trust. They've got to have done that part first. You've got to build your audience, and you've got to take it step by step and grow that. But what they then do is immerse so much time, effort in creating the perfect program, trying to get it out there, and then it's like nobody buys it. And it's like, well, I've done months and months and nobody buys it. And it's like, okay, but it's a build. So having the one-to-one was always that foundation there to keep bringing in money, and then build the business as well. And what I noticed was that year that sometimes I'd have a month where I had incredible budgets being hit for the month, and then the next month was like nothing, because it was like, I'm all delivery, I'm all launch mode, and I'm all ideas and everything. And that's just again, it's where you have to be careful, because then time for money isn't the same, and the money coming in isn't always the same, like every month, and it's managing your expectations around that too.
Yeah.
So I very much learned that.
Hard, isn't it?
It is,
like
but
being in constant launch mode. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess so. But what I offered was the one-to-one, and that's again why I always say it's never default to just go have to do one-to-one and in group. It very much depends on knowing your ideal client and what's happening in their world and their business. But as a piece in terms of growing, I took the one-to-one and made that, well, this is getting results, this works, this doesn't work, this is what I can formulate into a group program.
That makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about messaging, and how can messaging help people to make more money in their business?
So messaging helps people make more money by really connecting with what they want to put out to the world and how they help people. Lots of people don't do the process of really understanding everything about their ideal client and speaking to them in that language. We do a lot of assumptive work. We do a lot of work around probably ourselves default and not others. So a lot of that is understanding, again, the real clarity on what is it they want to put out and connecting with that person on a deeper level, like really the emotions. And 80% of sales is emotional, and 20% is logical decisions. So it's like, well, what does that encompass? And it's all the areas of knowing your ideal client, looking at the problem solution, really crafting credible offers and pricing that matches and mirrors, one, your strategy, but also what's right for your ideal client, your positioning, how you target people, of course, sales. But the two areas I really like to delve into are the experience that somebody has. Referrals, I don't think, is always a strong enough sales process or strategy, but it absolutely is. It's one of my core areas in my business is, my referrals and retention of clients brings in most of the revenue to my business. And that's built of, again, that whole experience you take someone on. And lots of that comes from the experience I had within the corporate world of understanding, like, how you treat people, how you show up, how you lead, how you do anything in your business, consistency, accountability, doing what you say you will. These things can often sound very basic, but if you take, again, the strategy work I do, strategy is all around having plans in place, the foundations of a vision, values, your mission, and really conveying that to the world and getting that deeper level of connection and building essentially trust there, that real value that you offer for people. So you can instantly see how the client experience and showing up with authority, with confidence, the mindset work can link into that as well, that we need to have all of those fundamentals in place to be able to think about our messaging. Lots of people approach it thinking, I just need to get my message right and get it out there. And you have to think about all those areas. But what's most profound about it is that it's always going to reoccur. It's never a done job. Like I said, it's a bit like the money mindset work we said about there. You're going to get those blocks. You're going to have to revisit. And we're in a world right now where business is rapidly changing. It's evolving. People's expectations are very high. So therefore, we have to mirror and we have to match those as well to meet those for people and understand where they're at. And I think a lot with messaging comes down to, again, really getting people to feel that they're understood. Like they understand you and what you're conveying, but that they feel listened to, heard, valued, and understood with what they're trying to get out to the world and their mission too.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. So, I launched my new membership 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and I've never had a better conversion rate. So my conversion rate was 54%.
incredible.
And I was just like, wow, that's amazing. And I really thought, like, what have I done right with this launch?
Yeah,
What have I done? And first of all, I think the biggest thing that I learned was that I didn't just go, I've got an idea, I'm going to launch it, which
yeah,
is my typical ADHD brain thing where I'm just like, I just want to get it done. Like,
yeah.
I have the idea, I'm like, let's get it done. But no, I thought, do you know what? No, I'm going to plan this. So I set up my waiting list, and I started talking about it. I started talking about the purpose of the membership, because my membership is it's all about visibility. So of
Mm,
course we do talk about messaging in there and stuff as well. But it was more about who was it for.
mm,
So my membership is for neurodivergent and invisible illness
mm.
entrepreneurs, people who are overwhelmed, tired, maybe perimenopausal, maybe parents. They are people who struggle to get seen and heard in everyday
Yeah,
life because they are just so overwhelmed with all the crap that's going on around them. So I started talking to those people, and very very luckily, I think this often works with people with their businesses. I am my ideal client, so it means that I can relate to them on a really personal level.
yeah.
I've got all of the neurodivergent conditions. I've got an
Mm,
autoimmune disease. I'm perimenopausal. I'm a parent. I'm like a permanently exhausted pigeon. But I just went out and started talking about my experiences and how I learned. And
mm,
I was in business for, I mean, I've been self-employed for 8 years now, and I've only really started to be successful in my mind in the last year.
okay.
And that's because I have owned the fact that I am definitely different, and my
Yeah,
business is not run in the same way as other people's.
yeah.
So visibility for me was a lot different to visibility for somebody who doesn't have a neurodivergent
Mm,
condition. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to teach people how to be more visible in my membership with this in mind. And
mm,
like all of our trainings are all neurodivergent friendly. They're all like very, very paced at a certain level. All of our trainings are very short. They're very concise, and we don't overwhelm people. And I
mm.
think it's really important to know your clients, to know what they need,
Yeah.
but also to show up and to build that know, like, and trust. So I really get that.
I love
And
that. And
what
part about like just for you there, relatability, isn't it? And you also that
Yes.
authenticity of this is who I am and how I am. And I think what's great about that is that you there and you can see the leadership part in you lead that by example and people then follow suit and people are looking to that structure, they're looking for that leadership in business and people who have the confidence to do that because sometimes people don't know how to get started or what to do.
No, and
You
and
look
a
to
lot of
that
people,
person
yeah,
for that authority part, which is exactly what you've shown there.
yeah, and it's about also managing people's expectations as well.
100%. Yeah.
So I think one of the big things about my membership is that, I wanted to give a lot of value, and I've already been told off for giving too much value. Like, um, but kind of we're learning together, and I think that was
Yeah.
one of the things that I've really learned is, like, done is better than perfect. And
100%.
just, I planned the launch, but I hadn't really planned what it was going to look like when we got there. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to get my ideal clients in a group of people, and I'm going to find out what they need help with, and I'm going to help to support them in
Mm,
whatever way they need.
mm.
And we were a week in, and someone was like, "This is overwhelming. You're giving us too much
Okay.
stuff." I was
Yeah.
like, "I'm sorry. I just want you guys to love me." And then we worked out a bit more of a strategy and a bit more of a plan behind it. So now I give like a daily tip. I do a live most days. And I give them a mission each week so that
Mhm.
they can complete something so they feel like they're progressing forward.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to be really liking that. We do regular meetups, and
Yeah.
but we do networking in a neurodivergent way.
Yeah.
So it's not like come and stand up, do a 60-second pitch. It's like if you feel comfortable, you can tell people what you do.
Yeah.
Um, Come with a problem, leave with a solution, have a bit of fun. Let's have a bit of banter. And it's
And
just really
that's like
relaxed.
that part of trust, isn't it? That you create a
Mm,
space where people feel heard, like we said, understood there, which is really important, valued, listened to, but that they also feel like they belong. So many people say to me, and like I have my own community as well, but And I'm big on that I don't want to, I get a numbers game. I've done years of hitting £1 million budgets. I'm not stupid and okay with that. I
Yeah.
don't want that. I don't want to feel a number in a big community of people where it's hundreds and hundreds. I don't like that the same way I was able
No.
to do that in a corporate world. I don't want to do that in my own business. So therefore, standing for certain things and knowing what you do want and you don't want is really important. And again, like you said, that clarity of this is who I'm for, and likewise, this is who I'm not for. I'm very direct in my approach, but what I know that is, because clients have said it, direct but very compassionate, or heart of gold and
Yes.
things. It's like, I want to be known for that. I don't want to be known as a person like, if you're going to come to me, like, we're going to take action, we're going to get results, and we're going to make it happen, and it's going to probably be quite speedy, but I'm with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
But again, knowing what you are and what you're not, and that ability with your ideal client, your messaging to attract and repel people, is so key and important. And again, the same with money mindset, when we're talking about things like your money stories, as you were saying, being able to demonstrate and share your journey, but also like, this is for you if you want to do this. If you don't want to work on this, then it's not for you.
Yeah, and I think knowing my clients as well, like, and knowing how I've been in memberships, like,
Yeah.
I pay for memberships,
Yeah.
and then I forget about them,
Yeah.
and I don't turn up, and I don't engage. And one of the things that was really important to me right from the get-go was having a space where people didn't feel pressured that they had to show up. So every single training, every single mission is always available.
Yeah.
We don't do anything live, so people don't feel the pressure to come along to it live. They can watch it back. Nobody's ever behind. There's not a specific order to do things in. We do things when we want to. And we have a no weekend working rule. I am very, very strict on this. I'm like, right, guys, on a Friday, I'm like, tell me about your week. What's gone wrong? What's gone right? Park it. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it. Relax. Switch off. Do things for you.
Yeah.
If you're going to do any social media content, make sure it's around your family and about the fun things you're doing. Not any tips, not anything like that. Just relax. People don't want to hear business tips at the weekend. People want to relax at home. So it's all about getting that, that personal side of people over. What are their hobbies? What are their interests and their passions? And it's about avoiding burnout, because I think so many of my audience are feeling so burned out. Like, they've got content paralysis. They're struggling with all of the things like going on with their conditions and their brains and their bodies. And they're just like, do you know what? We're in business, but fuck, we're not making enough money. So I think it's all about helping to support people in the right way. And that comes from knowing your audience. And I say this all the time to people, you have to know what your audience needs.
Yeah.
You have to know what platforms they're hanging out on. Don't be on every single platform just because you think that your audience might be there. You want to know exactly where they're going to be so that you can talk to them. And this is where messaging comes in. And it's so important that, yes, you might be on the right platform. You might know what your customer wants, but how are you talking to them? Are you telling them the right thing? And what tips would you give to people around that?
No, I think it's great, because it's really interesting, because it gets me thinking there's some areas where, like, I can work all the hours under the sun, and I can be that person who wants to work at the weekend, and it's work. But then I have the ability as well. I'm like, it's interesting to think, well, I think we can assume a lot at times and think, yes, we are ideal client, absolutely, but there are degrees where it's slightly different as well. And I know, if I look at my community, I think there's some of them that probably, like you've just said, that probably would see some things as, is that overwhelming, or I need to slow down on that, and I need to give all of those things. So again, being rounded is really important as a business owner and like leader part, in terms of how we lead that and say, do you know what, actually this isn't working, or do you know what, I think I conveyed that really wrong. And I think the ability to be vulnerable and share those things to again build that relationship with people is really important, and show that you're going on that journey too. And I think the most important thing with things that we're talking about, vulnerability around money, we're talking business, anything, is that we can share those journeys we're doing as well, and like really building that core relationship with people. That's really profound and connects on a deeper level. So I think that what you share there is really important, and you demonstrate that you've got the ability to really listen to what people want and they need. They're two different, very, very different things. And also, but and hands up that, like, it's your business. Run it how you want to. Yes, we can know who are for, who are not for. There's no right and wrong on some of this. You're going to have to get out there and experiment, make mistakes, have some fun, and see what works, that connects in the best way that you want to grow your business. That's what's essential. And also, like you just said, how you want to live your life. I just can't naturally flex to Monday to Friday work. It's just not in me. It's not my DNA. I've tried it, and it's like, I just can't do it. My partner works shifts, so it's very challenging. And again, like, there's no right and wrong. You just have to then create. I think what's important is the boundaries that are most aligned to you and your ideal client on those things. That's what's really important when you're building a business, and being open to different things that we can change things as well, and that's okay. I see loads of my friends in business doing things. I'm like, I just wouldn't do that, but I was like, it's amazing. If that works for you, keep doing it. And again, it's not that people just judge too quickly about what others are doing as well. Being open to think, well, what would that mean to me? How could I do that? Or actually, maybe it's a no for me, but I'm going to do this. I think that curiosity sometimes falls when really businesses, and that's really important to have.
Yeah. And remembering that there is a very, very small word in the dictionary. It starts with an N and it ends with an O. You can say no to things that don't
rubbish at that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
When it sounds like you do this, I'm like, because you asked, it's a yes, but it should be a no, but it's going to be a no next time. I know I've got those boundaries.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? I mean, I had to learn quite quickly with my new business that I had to say no.
Yeah.
So so in my old business, I used to run a discount card that helped people to shop local, and I had 4,000 business partners.
Wow.
And one of the things of being a member was if they tagged me, I'd share their stuff.
Yeah.
And people still tag me and they're like, share my stuff. And I'm like, I don't run that business anymore.
But that changed.
But also, one of the benefits and one of the perks of my membership is that anybody who's in my membership, I share their content when they tag me. And that is an exclusive benefit to my membership. And I get people going, oh, Maddie, can you just share this? And I'm like, join my membership? Sure.
Yeah.
and it's really hard to say no to somebody because I like people liking me. And I'm always scared that like people are going to be like, oh, she's such a bitch. But I think having those boundaries is the key word, isn't it? For all of it. It's like, where do you go? And how do you protect yourself in your bubble? And, that's something that we talk about in our membership a lot, because it is so important that you're kind of protecting yourself against the outside world, especially for neurodivergent.
It's the same as like when we come back to the money part as well, what you choose to consume and not consume. And that's why I say, again, the key with success of being the people around you, that, who you surround yourself with is everything. We know Jim Rohn's quote, you're the average of your 5 people. But if you choose to be around people that think a certain way around, like, well, money's scarce or there's no money in the world and things like that, you're going to think that. And I use a lot of my secondary messaging is fitness, because I'm massively into my health and fitness, and
nice.
It just keeps me focused. So it works to bring it into things like business as well for accountability and everything. But I'll often be sharing in there around just our approach of it as well. And if you're going to surround yourself with people that don't want to do those things, then you're going to match up quite quickly. So again, if you're working on anything, start surrounding yourself with people who are either where you want to be or going on that journey as well. And like you said, then it's not as easy as cutting people out. I think we have to be careful on that. I mean, I remember listening to Joe Wicks once do a podcast, and he spoke about, topical right now, but he spoke about the point of just making sure that we can't cut everybody off. And again, that's important. You have to, like you said, it's a bit about, you have to manage those relationships and those expectations. And that's important too when you're running a business, of coming back to you have to have those boundaries to protect you and also the business that you're building, because it's an asset.
Absolutely. It's weird. I think I've talked about Joe Wicks on every podcast I've recorded this week.
I brought it in a different context.
Sneaks in, but in a different way.
He's a great example of somebody he's standing for something as well. Whether you agree with it or not, again, it's sometimes just losing the judgment of, look, I hear that, this is what I think. And that's what I think is important. It's a bit more of an objectional perspective on certain things.
Yes.
And taking out emotion. I think people in business can be very emotive, and money is a very strong emotive thing for most people. And it's often, again, the relationships part, it's the one thing that me and my partner get emotive about is money.
I mean, we don't actually, weirdly. So me and my husband, we have completely separate finances. And people find that really weird, but it means that we don't ever argue about money.
Yeah. But that's
Like,
great, isn't it? It's working out what works for you and sticking
yeah,
with that. That's what's,
exactly.
and again, let's say there isn't necessarily right or wrong, but you've just got to find that middle ground with what really serves both of you, like you and the relationship you have with yourself, but others too.
Exactly. And I think making sure that you protect yourself as well by so I mean, I said to my membership the other day, I said, for 4 days a month I will not be here, and they were like, why? I said, because I've got PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and 4 days before my period I want to die, so I don't socialize with anybody. I don't show up. I crawl into a ball and I eat lots of chocolate, and those 4 days a month I'm like, sorry guys, just, yeah, I should still share your content, but I won't talk to you. So like, and they were all like, cool, because they've all got their own little disabilities and hidden illnesses and all those kind of things. And we have to do what works for us. And we have to have those boundaries to say to people like, come on now, that's enough. So like, I've got some of my coaching clients, like I have pretty much an open inbox, but I have boundaries. So don't message me on the weekends. Don't message me out after 9 o'clock. But during the week, fine. Whenever you need help with anything, I'm your one-to-one person. If you've got a question about something, send me a message. But don't send me a message after 9 o'clock. Don't send me a message on the weekend, because that's my time with my kids and my family where I'm unwinding, and I don't want to be dealing with your business problems. So but it's really important that you do set those boundaries. So,
I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, Natalie, where can people find you?
Best place is LinkedIn is my chosen platform. It's definitely not TikTok. I just know what I'm for and what I'm not. I can't manage TikTok to save my life, and I don't think I ever will.
So, do you know what? It's not for everybody. It's really not.
It's
And
not for me.
as much as I fly that flag and I love it.
But I remember a few years ago, I literally sat there scrolling and I was like, I've wasted 90 minutes of my day. That's never happening again. So
I tell everybody that I coach with TikTok to set timers. Do their post, engage for 5 to 10 minutes, then get out of there, because otherwise you'll get sucked into a hole of death and you'll never ever leave. And it's just not time. It's not good, really.
So look, LinkedIn's my preferred one. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and then nataliepots.co.uk for anything as well. And I have my podcast. We talk about success, so it's always really related, and it's important, like we spoke about these things today, that we get that message out there to people. But thank you for having me today. It's been great.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming. So guys, if you're listening to this on Spotify or on Apple Music, please leave us a review, because reviews help us to get higher in the rankings, and people need to hear this podcast because it's really good. We have really great conversations and lovely guests. If anybody wants to come and follow me, Mad About Money Official on TikTok, and Maddie Alexander-Grout on LinkedIn. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.